Okay. So after talking about the divisions of languages, now he goes into the origin and development of speech. So this traces back to certain theories, historical theories. So how could speech have first emanated? How could it have been? There are many theories, many linguists have proposed theories, including evolutionists like Charles Darwin have also come up with certain theories. So this paragraph or this section deals with that in a very small manner. Vyavahara sadhani bhuta bhashayaha utpatti abhivriddhi द्विवचनं ले सो उत्पत्तिः च अभिवृद्धिश्च व्यवहारसाधनीभूत भाषासामान्यस्य कुतः कथं वा उत्पत्तिः इत्यत्र शाब्दिकसमये बहुधा विप्रतिपत्तिः. So, Vyavahara Sadhani Bhuta Bhasha. Bhasha Samanyam, in any Bhasha, if we take language in general, so Bhasha Samanyam, it is the sadhanam, it is the tool for Vyavahara communication. How did this come about? Katham Utpattihi, how was the creation of this Bhasha Samanyam, language in general, and why was this language even invented in the first place? Ityatra, in this Vishaya, Shabdika Samaye Bahudaha Vipratipattihi Vartate. Vipratipattihi nale contradictory opinions are there. Viruddha Abhiprayaha Vartante Shabdike Samaye. Shabdika Samaya Hastu Atra linguistics professors Madhye Abdin Edthikla or linguist theories. There are many different contradicting positions by people who have proposed theories. Atayeva matabhedaha cha bahavaha vartante. Because they contradict in their views, their theory that they propose also are many in this case, in the origin and development of speech. Tadatra navina vimarshaka saranim anusritya vicharayamaha. So let's look at anusritya, following the new methodology of analysis. Let us analyze what are all there. Instead of going into all of the details of the origin and development and the theories that have been proposed hitherto, he is actually taking only some of the qualities which make sense for us. Yatha परिमितैरेव स्वरैः उच्चावचं ओतप्रोततया महत् संगीतं प्रपञ्च्यते तथा परिमितैरेव अक्षरैः महान् शब्दप्रपञ्चः. This is conducive, or we can understand this because we come from a Carnatic base or a Hindustani base where we know that there are 7 swaras which is only limited. Parimitaireva swaraihi, Uchavacham, Otaprotataya. Uchavacham, the differences, and Otaprotatayana and the Udupavumbo. And a cross thread and straight thread is called Otaprotam. In this manner, Mahat Sangita Prapancham Utpadyate. Right? Prapanchyate sangeetam shastram tu vivaranataya tatra vaktum shakyate parantu tathaiva. In the same manner, parimitaihi eva aksharaihi. If you take the whatever the start is not that is formulated later based on what was being used. Yeah. So the people did not start after knowing the letters. As osmosis, speech came before grammar, or speech came before formalizing the alphabet. So we only had sounds. Anala parimitaireva aksharaihi mahan shabda prapanchaha. So we could have, there is a possibility of a great shabda prapancha from very limited aksharas. Evam bhasha vyavaharam giti vishesham manyante Bloomfield prabhritayah shabdikaha. So Leonard Bloomfield is actually called the father of American linguistics. So he is the one who proposed this theory that, it is very similar to, there is a musical phenomena. That is, it is very similar to how music evolves from, say, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Those are the basic structure of, or you can take 12 shrutis with which you work on. A sharp, B sharp, abdi vechinde, or B, not B sharp. So, on the madre, you have certain set number of pitches with which you create a big tapestry of music. भाषायाः प्रयोजनं हि जनानां परस्परम् आशयविनिमयः एव. सो आशयविनिमयः तु अत्र अभिप्रायं यदि अन्यं वक्तुम् इच्छामः तत्र परस्परविनिमयः, an exchange of आशय ideas is the main purpose of भाषा. स च भाषा अधिगमनात् प्राक् प्रकारान्तरैः समपद्यत. It happened with before we got language. Bhasha adhigamanat prak. Before the obtainment of language. Prakarantaraihi samapadyata. Kim samapadyata? Vinimayaha saha. That exchange of thoughts happened using different methodologies. Kete prakaraha. What are all the pathways? The first one is mrigacheshtita tulyam manusha cheshta eva arthadyotika asit. Just as how animals have certain language or the actions, kada asikirde, bala asikirde, these kinds of actions, shaking their tail, these are all manushya cheshtitamapi evameva asit iti. So cheshta roop cheshta dwara arthaha dyotyate. So cheshta eva artha dyotika asit. It was possible to bring out the meaning using just gestures. Tathahi mriga prapanche, in the world of the animals, paran prati abhipraya dyotakam pravritti prayojakam cha cheshtitameva bhavati iti pramana siddham. Now this is with evidence we can say that in the animal world they don't speak. They have sounds, yes, but at the same time, they also use many gestures to convey certain things to the other animal. So this is Pramana Siddham, this is proved with an evidence. Professor Julian Huxley tavat Tiryak Prapanche Katham Vyavaharaha Prachalati iti Sadrishtantam Saprapancham Nirupayati. He describes in his text what happens in the world of birds, Tiryak Prapancha. Or anybody. Tiryak gachati, that which is not moving straight like mammals, like humans, but tiryak in a horizontal manner. So it includes all the animals also. Ataha abhiprayasya cheshtitam pratikam bhavati ityatra na kaschid vipratipadyeta. So atascha, because of this, because of these research that have gone before, that have been done before, abhiprayasya cheshtitam pratikam bhavati. Pratikam is the vandu in the kol kamikirdu அப்படின்றோமே இல்லையா? It is like an indicator. Pratikam is an indicator. So cheshtitam, action, becomes an indicator for what is there in the mind. Sometimes we just say like this, இல்லையா, which means come. We only use the action, but the child understands. Let's say you go to a mall, you see a child who obviously doesn't know English or even Tamil, but you can communicate with that child with certain actions. Right? So that the abhipraya is the cheshtitam, the action is the pratikam or the indicator for the abhiprayam. Ityatra na kaschid vipratipadyate. No one will contradict this statement. Everybody will have to accept that. Shwanascha swa abhiprayam puchcha chalanadibihi prakatayanti iti sarvanubhutihi. Everybody knows that यद्यपि केचन मृगाः ध्वनि विशेषं सन्तोषेण दुःखेन च कुर्वन्ति न ते वर्णात्मकाः. They may make some sounds to express their happiness or sadness, but it is not varna. It is not a letter. It does not have the rupam of a letter. यदि वर्णसदृशाः भवन्ति तर्हि अनवरत अभ्यासात् गुणाक्षरन्यायाद्वा भवेयुः न समनस्कतया. There are parrots which can talk. So where does that come from? वर्णसदृशाः एव तेषां उच्चारणं भवति इति चेत् तर्हि अनवरत अभ्यासादेव भवति. They constantly, you keep on telling that parrot, the parrot will repeat it. Natu samanaskataya. It doesn't have that attitude in its mind that it has to reply in this manner. It is only by reflex action. Natu samanaskataya. Not with the idu. Inge vandu gunakshara nyayadva bhaveyuhu iti vartate. இது என்னன்னு தெரியுமா உங்களுக்கு? குணாக்ஷரன்னா அந்த டெர்மைட் போய் it will sometimes it can reveal a letter, but that doesn't mean that the termite has that mind to write that letter. இல்லையா? நது samanaskataya stanandayascha चेष्टितेनैव व्यवहरन्ति. I just told you. stanandayah iti chet balaha, ativa balaha, one who's still drinking milk. அப்படின்னு அர்த்தம். Sir E.B. Taylor Mahashayah Swakiye Early History of Mankind iti granthe आधुनिक समाजिकेषु समाजेषु अपि कुत्रचित् चेष्टामयी भाषा अवलम्ब्यते इति सदृष्टान्तं सविस्मयं च अस्मान् आवेदयति. Taylor also gives a lot of examples in his text, the early history of mankind. In his text, he gives examples. Adhunika samajeshu, even in today's samaja, society, kutrachit, in some places, cheshtamayi bhasha avalambyate. Even now, adapdiye abdi irundhathu. You know, we use that. The person who is listening to it will understand what you mean in that particular context. You don't need to use articulate words. It is still very valid. Gestural understanding is also very valid even today in our life. You know, there are so many words that we use which don't have any meaning, or we won't even say the word, but we will just show actions. So that is what he is saying. Cheshtamayi bhasha avalambyate. If you go to Italy, the Italians use gestures a lot. Nane ipa pesarche, you know, I use gestures a lot more to express. That's how you know, you are used to. But Italy, in Italian, they use a lot of gestures and sounds which don't have, you cannot translate at all. So those were the examples that E.B. Taylor took and gave. So sadrishtantam savismayam, with great surprise, asman avedayati, he tells us that this is what is happening even today. Nati chirat prageva uttara america deshiyeshu raktahindaveshu, North America, Native Americans, cheshta eva vyavaharartham upayujyata. That is in the 1700s, probably even before the Americans came, or right when the Europeans came here. The Native Americans were using only actions mainly, because each tribe had a separate language for themselves. Communication was initially only through gestures, because they would point out to something and then say the word in their own language, and the other person would also say it in their own dialect. So if they were too far apart, then the dialects would change drastically among the Native Americans. Yadi bhinnaha kutaha, kuta here is different groups. Paraspara didrikshaya sandhi bhaveyuhu, if they wanted to see each other and they came together on a same platform, sandhi bhaveyuhuna, they came on a negotiation, let's say. Tarhi swa avayava cheshtitaihi eva vyavaharanti sma, they would only communicate with their actions of their body parts. Yadi vartulam kinchit apekshiyate tarhi akashe suryabimba sadrisham hastangulya pradarshayeyuhu, if they want something round, they will show the sun and do the gesture of round. General Scott Nama Cheshtita Bhasha Praveenaha Evam Abhipraiti Atra. This is the opinion of General Scott, who is a great expert, Praveenaha, in Cheshtita Bhasha, gestural language. America Haindavastu Kevalam Mrigaprayaha Yadyapi Tesham Pratiniyata Bhasha Vartate Tathapi Anyonyasya Bhasha Anyonyena Najnayate Ataha Paraspara Hridayavishkaranartham te evam kurvanti. So they probably were nomads. That's what he means by this. That is, they were roaming around and not wanting to settle down in one place, or not wanting to have a home. There are many people who did have homes. So they used to move a lot more. So when they moved and encountered another set of people, but their language was different, they could communicate only through actions. Tesham pratiniyata bhasha vartate. They had their own individual language. Tathapi, even then, anyonyasya bhasha anyonyena najnayate, they did not know each other's dialect. Hence, Paraspara Hridaya Avishkaranartham. In order to reveal what is there in their mind, they used to do this. So this is the expert opinion of General Scott. Cheshtita Bhashayam Asmakam Iva Prakriti Pratyaya Vivechana Rupa Vyakaranadikam na vartate. It's obvious. There is no grammar here. Anukarana Sadrisya Pradhana hi sa. The important. So there is Anukarana and Sadrishyam. Anukaranam is imitation. Sadrishyam is example, simile. Like how they showed the sun and then said they wanted something round. That is a Sadrishyam. Anukaranam is imitating some other animal. Maybe saying, I want to eat some animal, then they would probably make the sound of that animal and then say, I want that. அப்படின்னு இருக்கலாம் தெரியாது. Or a deer skin. Let's say they are exchanging a deer skin. They want to use that. Yeah. So anukaranam is different from sadrishyam here. Prathamataha manushyam vachana upalabdhaye kim tavat nirbabandha. So this being the case, this being the history, what was the motivation for a man to first bring in words? So vachana upalabdhaye, in order to obtain speech, kim manushyam nirbabandha, what is it that confined a man to bring in words? Initially, parinamati kale nana karmasu vyaprateshu janeshu cheshtadi artham angani upayoktum karya bahulyat na paritam. See, as work became more and more, if your work is very limited, then it is done. That's all you are going to know. You are enough. The gestures are enough. Maybe 5 words are enough or 100 words are enough. Right? As you expand your work, they were just hunters-gatherers, let's say, and then they moved on to become stone people. So you needed words for stone. On the uli, you needed weapons. So as this kind of nana karmasu vyaprateshu janeshu, parinamati kale, as times changed, people who were involved, vyaprateshu, who were involved in different kind of livelihood or works, cheshtitadi artham angani upayoktum cheshtitadi artham angani upayoktum, in order to use the actions for cheshtitam, for what they want to convey. Cheshtitadi artham, for the sake of doing actions, they have to use their body. Ipo you are doing some work. When your hands are involved in doing that work, your hand cannot do a gesture to communicate to another person. So you needed something else. அப்படிங்கிற புரியுறதா? சேஷ்டிதாதி அர்த்தம் அங்கானி உபயோக்தும் காரிய பாகுல்யாத் ந பாரிதம் ந சக்தம். It was not possible because they had too much of work on hand. कार्य व्यापृततया च चक्षुरादिभिरेव स्व आशयम् आविष्कर्तुं नैव शेकुः, because their hands and legs were involved. They could not just look at them and kanna kanna kaamikirtha eppadi adu panna mudiyum. It's not possible for them to just show eye contact with eye contact. Ataha sadhanantara upalabdhau tesham nirbandhaha samajani. There became a necessity for them to use another tool. वानरास्तु मनुष्यवत् कार्यबाहुल्य अभावात् एतं निर्बन्धम् अत्याक्रमन्. They could transcend this avashya nirbandham, this necessity. They did not have this necessity. Atyakraman, they transcended. They crossed over this necessity because they did not have any karya bahulyam. They did not have so much of work like a human. Vanaraha, the monkeys, did not have karya bahulya abhavat, manushyavat. Etam nirbandham, they crossed this necessity, that is, they did not have that necessity. Shilpadi sukshma karmasu hastadinam vyapritataya swa abhipraya visheshanam sammugdha akaratam vihaya vishesha akaratam adhatum vishishtani sadhanantarani avashyakani abhuvan. It became necessary to have certain special tools, vishishtani sadhanantarani, another set of certain special tools. For what? In order to communicate in a special manner and letting go of that ஒரு குத்து மதிப்பா சொல்றதுங்கிறது இருக்கு. gesture does not give you details. It only gives you a ஒரு தோராயமா an estimate, that's all, as to what it could be. It is a guess estimate, அவ்வளவுதானே. guess தானே, it's not an estimate, it's a guess, that's all. So எங்க விட்டேன்? ஸ்வ அபிப்பிராய ஷில்பாதி சூக்ஷ்ம கர்மசு ஹஸ்தாதீனாம் வியாபிருத்ததையா, because the hands and legs are all involved in doing sculpture and other things, working with stones, it needs your attention. So in that case, swa abhipraya visheshanam sammugdha is mohita, mukh dhaatulend vandirukku, in a very confused manner. So in letting go of telling their abhiprayas in a confused manner, okay, they had to bring in a detailed manner of explanation. Vishesha akaratam adhatum vishishtani sadhanantarani avashyakani abhuvan. Yani cheshtitani purvam karacharanadau avartanta tanyeva adyam asya jihvadishu adyam irkanum nenikiren. ஆமா, தானி ஏவ ஆத்யம் ஆஸ்ய ஜிஹ்வாதிஷு விபர்யவர்த்தந்த, விபரிவர்த்ததே அப்படின்னு changed. It changed into sounds produced from the mouth and tongue. What was that? Those actions which were first done by hands and legs, now slowly they tried to do the same action with their mouth and tongue. Then sound started coming out. When you started using the mouth and tongue, automatically the sound came out. அதுதான் சொல்ல போறோம். So asya oshtadishu cheshtamayi bhasha udabhut ityatra Charles Darwin pramanam bhavati. So Charles Darwin thinks that the mouth and the lips started off as just gestures, that's all, and then only sound came out. Bhava prakashakhe, expression of emotions, iti swagranthe likati, he writes this in his text. Hastapadadi anusthana anukaranasya mukhe avalokanena asyadishu cheshtamayi bhasha udabhut. The same thing. When you are imitating the actions of hand and legs, etc., mukhe avalokanena, you look at the face, and because people only look at the face, their eyes have to meet, then they started looking at the face. So the face became a tool of expressing the abhipraya. So asyadishu cheshtamayi bhasha first came about. Is that understood? Tatacha pramanaihi evam radhantitam syat. So it could have been radhantitam, established. Siddhantangrama adha radhanta, well established with pramanam in this manner. What does he say? So prathamataha manushyaha swa abhiprayam cheshtitaihi eva avishchakara. So this is how you can bring about the theory. 1 2 3 4 potukalam. So what is the first step? Manushyaha swa abhiprayam cheshtitaihi eva avishchakara. He told about his abhipraya, opinion, through actions. Next is hasta cheshta anusari jihva oshtadishu api abodhapurvam cheshtitam abhut. Idu mukhyam. The second stage is the mouth and the lips and tongue, jihvadishu, abodhapurvam cheshtitam, an action which does not give a proper jnanam, abodhapurvam. Hastacheshta anukari, and it was imitative of the hands and legs. Tadrisham abhut. This was the second stage. Antataha, the final stage is karya bahulya vyaprutataya, because they are involved in so much, the hands and legs are involved in work. Hastapadasya vyavahara ranga pradhana natasya anyatra pravrittihi asit. So like an actor who uses his hand and legs and all that, but if he is involved in the work, then vyavahara ranga pradhana natasya, idu vandu pantomime ngra, anyatra pravrittihi asit. So karya bahulya vyaprutataya, காரியத்துல எக்கச்சக்கமா இன்வால்வ்டா இருக்கிறதுனால கைக்கும் காலு व्यवहार रंग प्रधान नटस्य I would say the hands and legs which were supposed to act out the whole thing, it transcends, or it moved into another place, which is the mouth and everything. Or illana ipdi eduthikalam. So the second step that we were talking about, not second step, the first step irukallaya, manushyaha cheshta rupena eva swabhiprayam prakatikaroti iti, that portion moved into another it is called pantomime or drama, where they don't speak at all and use only actions to convey everything. Tad anukarinaha asya jihva oshtadayaha cheshtita shilpe pantomimic art pravinyam adhigatavantaha vyavahara rangam adhyasam asuhu. And those people who became experts in conveying whatever they wanted to say, I think this sentence I'm not able to correctly place, but let's say, because their work was too much, the person who does hastapada cheshta, he got another pravritti, that is, he got another vritti for himself, living, jivika, and that jivika became shilpakala, which is a kind of art called pantomimic art. The pathirkallaya, those people who wear white mask, white potunde, they will only do actions, kaiyala apdi ipdi pannuva. There is no, maybe music will go on, sometimes music irukadu, so it's just mimicking what people do. One man show irukum sometimes adu. Anantaram asya jihva oshtasya cheshtita avasare kantha nasadi putadvara anila udabhuvan. So that's what, when anantaram, after all this gesture and everything, when they started showing the gestures through their mouth and tongue and lips, anantaram asya jihva oshtasya cheshtita avasare, at the time of moving all of the parts of the mouth, kantha nasa putadvara, through the throat and nose, anila udabhuvan, anilaha udabhuvan, இது பிராணன் வெள்ள வந்தது, காத்து வெள்ள வந்தது. Yataha, so that air which came out of the throat and nasa, it started moving, transforming into different kinds of sound. Yataha cheshta rahasya udita vachana vidhaya shrotra pratyakshi bhutaha yadacha ime पुरातनाः जनाः आस्यादिचेष्टा अवसरे परान् अभिमुखीकर्तुम् आवर्जयितुं च प्रयतितवन्तः तदा वायुविकारः वर्णः प्रयत्नाधिक्यात् स्वनविधया श्रोत्रप्रत्यक्षम् अभूत्. Okay, यतः, because चेष्टाः रहस्य उदित वचन विधया, they started off by whisper, because you wanted to say some secret. Rahasya uditam is whispering. So vachana vidhaya, in the manner of speaking, or the speech sound came about in the manner of whispered noises which came to the ear. Shrotra pratyakshi bhutaha asan, those cheshtaha, that is the actions that are performed by the mouth, tongue, etc. And when the anilam also came out, wind also came out, it came out first in the form of whisper, because their consciousness was not to produce a sound. It was an involuntary air that came out. So the involuntary air that comes out always comes out in the form of a whispered sound. Yadacha ime puratanaha janaha, when these ancient people, asyadi cheshta avasare, when moving their mouth, etc., paran abhimukhi kartum, in order to bring them, அதாவது பக்கத்துல போய் பேசுறதை விட, when they wanted to get their attention, paran abhimukhi kartum avarjayitum, in order to attract them, they made a greater effort, prayatitavantaha. So when they made a greater effort, tada vayuvikaraha varnaha, a whispered sound, a sound which was transformed by the vayu, prayatna adhikyat swanavidhaya, when there was a greater effort, it came out as a voiced sound, and the it came within the range of auditory perception. So Shrotra Pratyaksham Abhut. Okay. So just a few more, two more paragraphs, and we'll finish with this. Ubhayatapi Swanaprakara Anilamayi cha Bhasha. Bhasha in both manner. Either it is a whispered sound or a voiced sound. அப்படின்னு வெறும் இது வராத, you also have a voiced sound. Both of these depended on sound, the air coming out. Swanaprakara, it was a matter of, it was a sound, and it also had anilam, it also had air in it. Tadrisha bhasha purva avasthataha kanchana vishesham alabhata. So it got a special, it became a little bit more special than the earlier existence. Purvam cheshtamayi sati, when it was only actions, shrotra pratyaksha ayogya asit. When someone is just making an action with their mouth, you can't hear it. So it was shrotra pratyaksha ayogya. Idanim, when the voice started coming out, idanim punaha, that pratyaksha yogya asit. That is, it, the ear could hear it. Yataha manushya samanyam idam prathamataya andhakare desha viprakarshe cha parasparam vyavahartum samartham abhut. Yataha, because of which manushya samanyamidam, this entire mankind, mudal prathamataya, the first time they were able to communicate in this darkness and desha viprakarshe. When they were in darkness, if two people are in darkness, you cannot see the mouth. You have to split it into 2-3 sentences. So yada asyena cheshtaha eva kurvantaha asan tada tu andhakare yah kaschit vartate chet saha etat shrotum na shaknoti. Yadi saha viprakarshe deshe vartate tadapi saha cheshtam drashtum na shaknoti. Then what do we, this sound solved these two problems. So andhakare in darkness and desha viprakarshe when they were at a distance, parasparam vyavahartum samartham abhut, it was possible for them to communicate between each other. Tatha cha etasmat bhasha prapanchaha vitastara litlakaram. So from this language spread, abhivriddhi iti nishankam shakyate vaditum. It is possible to say without any doubt. So krodi kurmahangarche, let's just make a list of it. Krodi abdina, making a list. Uktam, whatever I have said so far, visheshantaraihi sakam krodi kurmaha. We will take certain other examples and put it in a list format. So what is the first one? Prathamataha cheshtita bhasha, gestural language. Balaha cheshtitaihi eva vyavaharanti. Only kids, we always say, use your words. Even when they are learning language, we say use your words, which means their first resort is to communicate with a gesture. Adhunapi natakadikam cheshtarupena eva pradarshyate. Even movies or musical plays are being shown with actions. Hastapada kantha oshta jihvadina cheshtitam cheshta bhashasu antarbhavati. Any sort of gesture we use is included in the cheshta bhasha, that is gestural languages. Chitra sanketadikam api atraiva. Even if we show pictures, when we are teaching for kids, we show mango, for a picture comes flashcards, that flashcard kind of understanding is also a cheshta bhasha. Geetimayi bhasha, language of music. Asyam swaraha eva vartante drishtantaha marjara ravadihi. You listen to cats sound, it will be like music, some kind of, if it is high pitch, low pitch, one meaning, high pitched, one meaning, there is a sing song for them. Dolphins kuda apdida. So geeti varjam varnaihi eva vyajyamana bhasha. So without any tonal difference, only by words, a bhasha, a language is understood. Vyajyamana. Dhvani varjam lekhana rupam. Without any sound, there can be a written language also. Right? Many languages are written languages, which classical Tamil eduthilna, it is today it is not used at all. Sangakala Tamilngro. It is not, that language is not used here. Purvoktanam Sanghatamayi Bhasha. Sanghatamayi is a combination of all of these four in the list earlier. Okay? Sanghata. So this is what this is the origin and development of speech. Yeah. See, in this section of pantomimic art, what it means is, see, cheshta rupena yat purvam asit, whatever were the cheshta, that is action, gestural languages, where is it today? Is it being used? Abdin pathomna, yes, it is being used in languages in general. True. There is a mixture of gesture also, like Italian, I told you, is a mixture of gesture also and words also. But as a bhasha by itself, it remained only in the pantomimic art without any words, only gesture. Even dance, let's take Bharatanatyam or anything, there is a word there behind it. There is someone who is singing a music. You are using that word to show something. But சும்மா ஒரு line சொல்றா, but the entire Ramayanam has been depicted by them without the words, then that is gesture, cheshta. You understand it without the words there. The words say Ramaya Namaha, avladhan. He is just doing one viritham of Sita Pataye Namaha, Ramaya Namaha abdin sollinte varar vechukkom. But then the dancer is showing the entire Rama Jananath, Ravana Vadhaparyantam. She is just enacting the whole thing. The words don't mean anything here. Pantomime la aduvum kadayadu. Pantomimic la and you don't even have words. There's just silence sometimes. Sometimes there is just one instrumental music that is going on, to in accordance to that art. I think that's what he means here. I'm a little unclear about it. Probably this is what he means.